Okay, now we'll get on to the viewer questions here. If we still have some, we still got time? You still got time for us?
Yep, let's go.
Okay. So this is from, these are all from last night. This is all just from last night. Last night I put a post on Facebook, said, hey, I've got Stefan Sobkowiak coming on. Anybody have any questions for him? I put a little promo type thing there, and everybody knew who you were, and they had lots of questions. So the first one's from Jean Alcott, and she says, a question about how to plant, prune, and keep branches down to a level where you can pick the fruit without a ladder. She says in Nova Scotia, but I don't think that the context really matters. And that's actually what I try to do in my garden, is keep them the height I want them. So what advice would you give for someone that has that goal?
I would say the first thing depends on shade, because if your tree on the low branches is too shaded, they will die out. So you're going to have a hard time keeping those branches if you don't prune the top of the tree, or if you don't prune big trees. In a garden, the problem is often you're trying to do something, but you've got these monster maple trees, next door or something. In a yard, sometimes it's not obvious. It's some of the most challenging situations. So the first thing is try to make sure that tree has, like lawn, at least 8 hours of sun. In some cases, I'd say, you know what, that tree isn't in the right situation. You're going to always have problems. Your fruit will always tend to go up on the tree because I've seen cases where the tree is planted right next to a big cedar hedge to the south of the fruit tree. Well, the bottom branches are totally in the shade most of the day, except in June, July.
Yeah.
So that's not going to give trees that will produce low down. So first of all, every branch has to be able to be getting 8 hours of sun minimum.
So you have to prune it with that in mind, like open the tree up.
Right.
I would watch a lot of pruning videos.
Well, yeah, we're working on a film on pruning, because there's a lot of videos, but I was very fortunate in 2009. I got to learn I consider two of the absolute best in the world on pruning, two guys from France. And France is so far ahead of us in their knowledge of pruning, because their minimum wage was up 25 years ago. So their farm workers, they said, hey, there's no way we can spend 40 hours per acre pruning. Like it totally throws the economics. So they needed examples and ways of growing an orchard without spending that amount of time pruning.
Okay.
So these two guys, and they were researchers, and they really put in the work, and they were geniuses. Dr. Jean-Marie Lespinasse and Michel Rameau-Guillem, they were incredible. So anyway, learning from them, and basically the whole basics of pruning. A lot of it has to do with branch angle. Like if you understand branch angle, and you saw it, I talk about it in the film, it is just that whole idea. And if you want to get one thing about pruning that will simplify forever your pruning understanding, is they would say, and they said it time and again, they'd say, do you want a tree? And imagine this is the trunk here, and these are the branches. He says, do you want a tree? So if your branches are like this, pointing like a Y or even steeper, he says, you've got a tree. It's going to grow like a tree. It's going to grow a tremendous amount of wood. Or they said, do you want a fruit tree? And then they put their arms down, like this.
Yes.
So the fruit tree means the branches are below shoulder level if you stood up.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. And he had done years of observation on fruit trees. And he found that, hey, a tree can grow, puts out a small branch, the branch can be angled up, but as soon as it has a few fruit, it starts to bend. And the second year, it goes more. And by the third year, it's below horizontal. And that's when it really enters its big production. So a tree doesn't care. It will produce branches or it will produce fruit. It's up to you to choose. Now, if you look at your tree in the winter, it's easy. Your tree is naked and it shows exactly how the branches are structured. So I've gone through my orchard some years where my discipline was I can do 2 cuts per tree, no more.
Two.
I can make 2 cuts. I'm not talking 2 branches. I'm just saying 2 cuts. So if I want to spend that time pruning one branch, then I can only make 2 cuts. So I had to focus on the 2 most important cuts. And all I was doing was going through my trees, and I'd say, okay, I'm looking for the branch that's the most upright, and I would take that one off. So then all I was left with is maybe horizontal branches or branches. Right. So all I was doing is getting rid of the 2 branches that were the most upright. I don't care how big they were. In fact, if they were big, then even more reason, because then that's a second principle, that if they're more than 50% the diameter of the trunk, then you take them out. And so just doing that over 2 years, I completely changed. Like I was walking through there this morning, and I thought, this orchard block has become so incredibly easy. Like, it's crazy how there's so little to do there, because there's virtually no suckers, because when a branch goes below horizontal, it just cannot produce suckers anymore unless it's a pear tree. Pear trees are the exception to that rule, but all other fruit trees, once the branch goes below horizontal, it changes the hormones are different. When it's growing upright, like when it's like this, up, then that's one kind of hormone. But when the branch goes down, the hormone changes. And so anyway, it gets rid of its desire to put on wood. It's like, I'm not a wood growing branch, I'm a fruit producing branch. Right. So that energy that would go into producing suckers is completely deflected into energy to put out fruit. So
for the home gardener, would it make any sense to, train your branches down, tie strings to them, put weights on them, or does it make more sense just to select the branches that have the right angle and just work with what the tree's giving you? Or
I would say both, because it's always a good luxury to have extra branches. Like if you have a lot of branches that are below horizontal, that's a luxury. Then you could select the best placed and so on. But yes, that's really the first key, is get your branches below horizontal. Right. And I have a block that I'm using a newer technique, which is basically a non-pruning technique. And again, it's my orchard. I can try what I want. So I have a few hundred trees in that orchard that I'm virtually not, the only thing I'm pruning is so that we can actually get through the lanes. Right. But the branches themselves, some of them I look and I go, wow, that it breaks all the rules that I've learned. But that's okay. I'm just watching that. And they're not producing less fruit, but they take a lot less time, because already there's no pruning. So it's like, wow, I'm getting fruit. They're producing well, and I don't have to do anything to these trees. That's nice. So why
is that working? Because I mean, the everything you read about fruit is you got to prune it. So yeah. What is? I mean, I guess this will probably take up a lot. Do you have a video on this?
Not yet. Yeah, not yet? I did actually on that one. I do. I have one called "To Prune or Not to Prune."
Okay.
That is the question, like to be or not to be.
Yes.
So it's to prune or not to prune. And basically the thesis of that video is, if you plant the tree as a whip, which is just a 1 year, one shoot, you can do that. Because if it's a tree that you buy that's 2 or 3 years old from the garden center and it's already been pruned, chances are it won't work very well, because that tree has already been messed with in the way it will structure its branches. But if you let that tree express itself naturally, it will position branches where it needs it as it goes. At worst, you bend a branch here or there, and that's it.
Oh, because it's finding the sun where it is, where it's going to be, and it's always been. It knows where the sun is. It doesn't really know, but it's reacting to the conditions in your growing space from day one. I just planted a whip this year. Yeah. Was a Sweet 16 variety.
Good choice.
Supposed to be really good eating. So, I can't wait. I mean, it worked really well. I did a little video on planting it. I think you have a really good segment. For those that haven't seen the permaculture orchard video, there's a whole thing on planting trees and what the soil conditions should be like and the drainage in the soil. It's a really good segment. I actually think in my garden, my soil's too wet. I actually had a tree tip over the spring from, like it's basically at the base of a hill. So the water comes down the hill and runs along. So I think it is too wet. But I mean, the tree is still alive. I mean, it's just, it is what it is sort of thing. But,
alive is not thrive. But
exactly.
in that case, I'd say if you're going to put something, put your small fruit, gooseberry, currants. And if you wanted to put a fruit tree, the pear trees are the ones that tolerate the most water.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you
Well,
wanted
they're really
to go,
watery anyway. It's a watery fruit. Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I mean, it'll grow in the heavier clays where the other ones won't do it at all. If your spectrum is the most tolerant of water is pear, then it would be apple, and then it would be plum, and the least tolerant is cherry. Like you try and grow cherry where there's water, it'll just die. I mean, we have cherry trees that are dying in our orchard or dying back just because we're watering enough for the apple tree, and that's too much for the cherry.
I see. Right.
And in places where they've suckered and they're growing without any irrigation, they're doing great. So it's like, you see that the tree is showing you, hey, I don't like getting watered every day. Like once every week is plenty. It's a cherry tree. Or once every 2 weeks. And so anyway, that's kind of the spectrum. If you have soil conditions that are challenging for fruit trees, then try pear, and some of the small fruit are the ones that will tolerate. I mean, like I say, it's tolerated. They won't go crazy happy with it, or raise the soil. Raising the soil works quite well.
You can't find the right site, make the site right.
That's exactly it.
Next question is from Marie.